Good evening and thank you for coming. As I look out amongst the class of 2020, I am reminded of an analogy that my parents taught me when I was a little girl. I remember them explaining to me that my life was an empty book full of blank pages that were just waiting to be written on. And they explained that each journey I would choose to take in life would end up becoming a chapter in my life story. And this inspired me to tell the best story I could with my life. Like many of you sitting here today, my road to get here was not an easy one. As a child, I dreamed of serving my country and making a career out of the military. But during my time in the Marine Corps, I was faced with the reality that sometimes the journeys we set out on won't always turn out the way we think they will, and my time in the Marines was cut short due to an injury. This was not my favorite chapter for my life story. I felt broken, lost, and confused. But it was during this time that my husband pulled me aside and reminded me of the little girl I used to be, dreaming of making a difference in the world and telling the best story I could along the way. He inspired me to use this chapter as a learning experience and to grow from it. And he also encouraged me to refocus my goals and remember what life was really about. But most importantly, he reminded me that my story was not over. It was simply the end of a chapter. And it was his words of wisdom that would eventually lead to my journey here at the University of Redlands. And while my story may be different from each of yours, I do know one thing. Each of you sitting here today are writing your own story, and each of your stories are filled with moments of celebration and moments of challenges. You have each worked hard to be here, and many of you have worked to overcome some of life's most trying obstacles. But something in your story inspired each of you to make a commitment to a career in education. And we all set our minds to this university, and we all began an adventure that would unite us in a common goal, to become the best educators we can be. And during our time here at Redlands, we have been able to write a common chapter, a chapter that needed each of our unique personalities, varying perspectives on life, and overall commitment to each other. The pages we have written include our time together in class, surviving TPAs, long hours of professional development, and several discussions with our professors revolving around our future roles in education. But through all of this time, there is one main lesson that I believe has been embedded throughout the pages of this chapter. You may be the most prepared educator on paper, but the most successful educators care for students above all else. And this is not always an easy thing to do. The reality is that the world of education is not an easy career path. And regardless if you are leaving here to continue your work in the classroom, oversee a school in an administrative role, or walk alongside a group of students as a counselor, each of these careers that make up the world of education require special people. People who are willing to choose a lifestyle that is dedicated to and investing in the stories of our students. And it's remembering that just as we are telling a story with our lives, each of the students we interact with are also telling a story. It's committing to the realization that now more than ever, our students need to know that the world is better with them in it. And I think we can all agree that we have entered this career field to make a difference and care for students. However, I want to challenge us to be willing to take this idea of caring for our students one step further. See, if we truly care for our students, then we will be willing to challenge the perspective that these early years in our students' lives don't matter, and that attending class is not simply a check in the box that will lead them to their future goals. I was reminded here recently that the ending of all great stories was developed in the early chapters. And if we as educators truly care for our students, then we will fight each and every day to help our students recognize that the chapter they are currently writing is equally as important as the chapters they have yet to write. A great educator will strive to inspire their students to write not only a memorable chapter, but one of great value, instead of settling for a chapter that is filled with apathy and shortcuts. Our life story comes into play here, as we are able to connect with and relate to our own students, and as we do this, we are teaching them how to write a better chapter for their own life. And this, my friends, is why education is not simply a career that we are getting ready to embrace, but rather a calling that we are getting ready to embark on. A calling that needs each and every one of you. The story that your life has told up to this point, the experiences that you have endured, have all helped to prepare you for this moment. This next generation needs you. They need your story, and they need you to believe in the story they are writing. When you feel overwhelmed and tired and begin to question whether or not it's really worth it, remember why you started. Think back to this chapter in your life where you chose to begin your time here at Redlands, and take heart knowing this calling needs you. Don't stop fighting, don't stop inspiring, and don't stop helping students write chapters of great value. Let this be the beginning of a better story for you, for me, and for our students. Thank you, and congratulations, class of 2020.